There's no question that The Exorcist is one of the scariest movies ever made. It not only terrified audiences upon its release in 1973, but even today it'll make anyone who watches it feel uneasy. But what many people don't know is that the movie is actually based on a true story. Well, sort of. Let me explain. It all started with an actual case of demonic possession that happened in the early 1940s. A boy named Robbie Mannheim was living with his mother and her boyfriend in an apartment in St. Louis, Missouri. Robbie's father had been killed in an industrial accident when Robbie was still very young, and he was having a hard time coping with this loss. This was made worse by the fact that his mother soon moved in with another man, which caused Robbie to become angry and resentful. One day, while playing in the street outside their apartment, Robbie was approached by a man claiming to be a friend of his mother's boyfriend. The man asked Robbie if he wanted to see something funny and then took him to a nearby alleyway. He told Robbie that he had a secret passageway that would allow them to escape and go anywhere they wanted. Robbie agreed, and the man led him through the passageway. But instead of taking him somewhere fun, the man brought Robbie to a dark and dirty part of the city. He then began to assault the young boy, which caused Robbie to fight back. The man stopped the assault, but from that point on, Robbie's life became a nightmare. Every night he was beaten by his mother's boyfriend for doing chores incorrectly or for no reason at all. His mother also turned against him and joined in on the beatings. Eventually, Robbie's body became covered with bruises, and his face was badly swollen. One night when his mother's boyfriend came into his room to beat him, Robbie prayed to God for help. And in that moment, something strange happened. Robbie felt an overwhelming sense of power surge through his body, and he was able to overpower his attacker. He beat the man so badly that he needed to be taken to the hospital. From that day forward, Robbie's behavior changed drastically. He became violent and unpredictable and would often lash out at those around him without warning. He was also able to lift incredibly heavy objects with ease, far more than what should have been physically possible for someone his age and size. Worried about their son's increasingly erratic behavior, Robbie's mother and stepfather took him to a doctor to have his mind examined, but the doctors were unable to find anything wrong with him. They concluded that Robbie was simply a troubled kid acting out due to his difficult home life. Unsatisfied with this diagnosis, Robbie's mother decided to take him to a priest to see if he could help. As the priest spoke with Robbie, he noticed that the boy's eyes looked black and soulless, and his voice sounded strangely deep and raspy. Concerned by what he was hearing, the priest decided to perform an exorcism. To his shock, as he uttered the words that would banish the demon from Robbie's body, the young boy let out a blood-curdling scream. After the exorcism, Robbie seemed much calmer and was able to control his temper. For a while it seemed like the ritual had been successful, and Robbie, his mother and stepfather were very grateful to the priest for helping their son. However, this peace did not last for long. Over the next few weeks, Robbie began to exhibit the same violent and uncontrollable behavior that had led his mother to seek help in the first place. She was confused and scared, not understanding how the exorcism could have failed. She begged the priest to come back and perform another exorcism. But before he could do so, something terrible happened. In the middle of the night, Robbie climbed out of his bed and walked barefoot down the street. He eventually came to a busy intersection where he looked both ways and then calmly walked into oncoming traffic and was hit and killed by a car. The news of Robbie's death spread quickly through the small town, and everyone was shocked and saddened by the loss of such a promising young boy. Many people blamed the priest for not being able to banish the demon from Robbie's body, while others believed that Robbie's parents were to blame for creating an environment that allowed such a terrible thing to happen. Although Robbie's story ended tragically, there was one good thing that came out of it. The priest who had tried to perform the exorcisms wrote a story about the boy and published it in Reader's Digest in 1949. The story was titled An Autopsy of a Possible Exorcism, and it immediately captured the attention of readers around the country. Many of them wrote to the priest asking for more details about the case, but he refused to provide any. He believed that it would be disrespectful to Robbie's family to do so. The story stayed relatively unknown for several decades until it was discovered by two writers named William Peter Blatty and Martha Lewis. Blatty and Lewis were writing a story about the history of demonic possession, and they believed that Robbie's story was the perfect example of how such a tragic event can affect an entire community. They reached out to the priest who had originally written the story and asked him if he would be willing to share more details about the case. The priest agreed and provided them with all of the information they needed to write their book. After reading the priest's story, Blatty and Lewis were fascinated by the case and they saw the potential for a great movie. They purchased the rights to the story and began working on a screenplay. The movie they envisioned was unlike any other horror movie that had come out before it. It would be based on a true story and would deal with some very heavy themes. They knew that if they wanted to make a truly terrifying movie, they couldn't rely on cheap scares and jump scares. Instead, they needed to create a story that would stay with viewers long after the movie was over. By the time the movie was released in 1973, it had become the highest-grossing film of all time. But not everyone was happy with its success. Some people believed that the movie was too scary and that it glorified Satanism. Others argued that the movie was based on a true story and that it was important to tell stories about demonic possession. In reality, Robbie's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of allowing evil into your life. No matter how strong or successful you are, evil can always find a way to corrupt you. It's also a story about the importance of seeking help when you need it. Robbie's mother and stepfather were too afraid or ashamed to ask for help when they needed it the most, and this ultimately led to their son's death. Robbie's story has been told and retold many times over the years, but each telling is just as terrifying as the last. Whether you believe in demonic possession or not, there's no denying that Robbie's story is a powerful and disturbing one. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, so please share your thoughts about The Exorcist and whether you think it is based on a true story. And if you haven't already, I highly encourage you to check out my other videos, as I post new content every week. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.